Okay, this is very cool, and I want to show it to you because this is the cornerstone of everything we do with our clients. It's called the patient acquisition funnel, and this doesn't just show you visually what we're trying to accomplish here with every campaign we run, but it also gives you insight into what I believe is actually the most important metric out there for internet marketing, and that's the EPL. So let's take a look at it, and all will be explained as I take you through this funnel. There are 5 phases to this funnel. First we have a paid ad, then we have a landing page, we have an offer, sometimes referred to as a lead magnet, we have a call to action, we have a nurture campaign. Now, if these terms are not familiar with you, don't worry. I'll explain everything as I go through this thing. But the reason we call it a funnel is because there's a large number of people who go in at one end, who see your ad, and the purpose of the funnel is to whittle that number down to a relatively small number, which represents your ideal patient. So let's throw some flesh and bones on this thing, and I'll show you how the whole thing hangs together. First of all, we have an ad, some kind of piece of content. It could be a video, it could be a static ad with some copy, but we put together some sort of content that we then put into the format of an advertisement on either Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. Usually Facebook. Most of our advertising is done on Facebook, and we do it under the auspices of MD New Social, which is our done for you social media advertising service. And we call it a highly targeted ad because what we're doing here is making sure that we target the ad to your ideal client, your ideal patient. And we'll talk to you about who that person is, what age they might be, what gender they are, what circumstances they have that might explain why they need your services. They may be an athlete and they need the services of a physical therapist because they hurt themselves playing sport. It may be somebody who needs the services of a dermatologist. It may be an older patient who's looking for perhaps some cosmetic surgery. Any number of different reasons why they might actually be interested or in the market for the care that you provide. But we'll talk to you a little bit about who that person is and what that person looks like, and we'll target the ads to those people. If they click on the ad, they end up at a landing page. I put the ClickFunnels logo there because that's the software we use to build the landing page. But for anybody who doesn't know what a landing page is, it is just a web page, but it is there for one purpose and one purpose only. This one is one we put together for a physical therapy client, and you can see that we're not asking to go clicking around. There's no navigation here except to do one thing. There's only one clickable button on this entire page, and that is to get the coupon. And then if they click on that, they give us their email, name and email, and download the coupon. What I do see a lot of in the healthcare space, and there's some very high profile clients out there, not our clients, but people who are running ads on Facebook that show up on my feed, where they're taking the visitors to their web page, to their website, or to some blog post somewhere. And that's never a good idea, because what happens is that the user can then end up clicking around the website, and on the face of it that may seem like it's a good thing. They're finding out a little bit about your company, but truthfully it isn't, because eventually they always leave, and they leave without giving you the one thing that you need to complete the funnel, which is their email address or their contact information. Here I've only asked for an email address, but you could ask for a phone number and any number of other ways that you can reach back to the user and continue the relationship. There's one other thing here, is that they end up on this lead magnet or special offer. If they don't download it, what we do is we have the opportunity of retargeting them. We can do that because there's something else on that landing page that the user doesn't see. It's called a pixel, and the pixel allows us to do what I'm sure you've all seen. If ever you are online looking for something, whether it's airline deals or something you might want to purchase online, what happens is that you start going around the rest of the internet and you see that ad following you everywhere you go, every website you go on. That's all done with pixels, and we put a pixel on the landing page, and that allows us to retarget anybody who lands on that page but does not download the offer. That said, let's assume that they do download the offer, and built into that offer, whether it's additional information like a lead magnet, or if it's just a special coupon or a voucher that they can use to redeem it to your location, they then book an appointment. And we call that the book an appointment now, because they don't always book it right away. Sometimes they book it right away, and other times it takes a little bit of additional nurturing to get them to do that. So you could potentially send them additional emails, and this is all automated. You don't actually have to send them. It's all set up ahead of time with additional information, additional content, maybe an additional offer, And every time we send out one of those emails, there's an additional call to action, which gives them the opportunity to come back and schedule that appointment. So that's what the funnel actually looks like. And if we start throwing some numbers onto this thing, you can see how the thing can really start to resemble a funnel. Let's assume that 1,000 people saw your ad. And what we can do is we can now establish that there is a specific cost per lead. Facebook is very, very good at giving us a cost per click, and we know what that number is just by looking into the power editor in Facebook's platform. But in addition to that, there's the cost of putting the campaign together, whether that's somebody you have in-house and you perhaps a portion of their salary and benefits to this cost, or maybe you hire somebody from outside to do that. But either way, you take the cost per click plus whatever other expenses accrue from generating that lead, and that gives you that number. I've assumed it's $2.43, but that could be very different depending on the practice and the nature of the campaign. 200 of those 1,000, 20% will download that lead magnet. That's a relatively conservative number. We would typically expect somewhere between 20 and 50% to download the lead magnet or the offer. So we've deliberately taken a fairly conservative view here. Similarly here, we'll assume that 3% actually schedule an appointment right away. Typically we would expect somewhere between 3 and 5%, so 3 is on the relatively low end of that scale. But again, we want to be conservative here. But that's the appointment right away. There's an additional opportunity for people to schedule an appointment as part of that nurture sequence. So maybe an additional 6 people, 3% will download, or schedule an appointment I should say, based on the email sequence that they receive after the fact. So now you can start to see how the numbers whittle down from 1,000 to 6 at the end of the funnel. So it does start to resemble a funnel. And now is a good time for us to do something which is again something we'll help you to come up with, but to come up with a number that we call the PLV, which is the patient lifetime value. Obviously we all know, or you should know very quickly and easily, how much you charge for a visit to your practice. But what's a more useful number is to sort of try and come up with an average number of what each individual patient is worth to you. Obviously, if you put together a plan of care, they may have to come back several times. If you provide the kind of service where people are electing to come back perhaps sometime down the road, it may make some sense if you do one procedure for them now and they do another procedure later on because they were so happy with the first procedure. There's a number of different metrics that you can employ to calculate that number. The patient lifetime value. But for the purposes of this explanation, I've come up with a number relatively easy from a math point of view, $500 patient lifetime value. So now you can start to see if you've got 12 patients, 6 people who scheduled an appointment right away and 6 more people who came along later and scheduled an appointment, your patient lifetime value at $500, therefore you've made $6,000 from this campaign, and you can track that and know that that's the number you came up with. So your EPL, which is your earnings per lead, which is that metric I was telling you about, the most important metric in internet marketing, is $6,000 divided by the 1,000 people who clicked on that ad, your 1,000 leads, which is $6 per lead. So if you have a cost per lead of $2.43 and you have an earnings per lead of $6, you know that for every $2.43 you spend on Facebook ads, you are going to generate a profit, marketing profit of $3.57. Absolutely vital number, because now instead of looking at marketing as an expense and something that should be minimized as best as possible, you start to think, wow, if I were to spend more money, I could actually get more patients and bring more people in and generate profit from each one. And where the fun really starts is where you can start looking at every phase of this funnel and start tweaking it and saying, well, what if we change this, and would we get this number up, and could we actually improve on that number? So for example, we said that 200 people downloading the lead magnet was a relatively small number. So what if it was 25%? What if we made that lead magnet a little bit more attractive and got 25% to download it? That would be 250 instead of 200. And what instead of 3%, we got 4% of people to schedule an appointment? And you can do that by making an additional offer for people who sign up right away. So now you've got 4% of 250, which is 10, rather than 3% of 20, which is 6. So now you've improved your cost per lead, or your earnings per lead, by 4 additional appointments. Similarly, you've got a nurture sequence, which is just 4 emails being sent. What if you were to change that to 1 phone call and 4 emails? Well, of course, you'd have to get their phone number from the landing page, but nonetheless, if you could call people, would that make a difference to the number of people who come back and schedule that appointment? I suspect it would. We would test it, we would try it and see. But now you can certainly see how that $6 per lead could easily turn into $9, $10, $11 per lead. And hopefully your cost per lead stays the same. And now you can see quite a substantial profit from each dollar you spend on Facebook advertising. So that's how a funnel works. That's what we set up for all of our clients. And we would love to set something like this up for you. So what I would encourage you to do, if this is intriguing to you, let's schedule a time to chat. What you can do is click on the button below and go to a calendar where we can set up a time to either chat on the phone, or better yet, I could stop by your practice and see you, which is frankly what I prefer to do most of the time. I love to come by and meet my clients or my prospects, but we'll come by, we could chat with you. After you've booked a time that might work for you, we'll send you a very brief questionnaire which will give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about your practice, and that way we go into the meeting knowing that the basic information ahead of time, so we don't go in there blind. So click the link below, schedule a time to chat, fill out the questionnaire, and I look forward to having an opportunity to maybe set something like this up for your practice. Thanks very much.